Hello and welcome. You're watching Republic Business. This is Rajat Mishra. Well, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is going to present the Union Budget on 23rd of July. What corporate India is expecting, and to understand what is the current state of Indian economy, we are joined in by a very special guest, Mr. Vijay Karia, Chairman and Managing Director of Ravin Group. As we know, the budget is just around the corner, and the first question that I want to ask and start off with is that, considering the state of Indian economy as of now, what are the top three things that you think that Finance Minister should address in the full budget of FY25?
Well, I think the expectations this time are more populist in nature, and the expectations are high. The three things that I would like the Finance Minister to do this time around is to simplify, amplify, and exemplify. I think with the results having come out as they are, a lot of people are expecting it to be a very populist budget, and rightly so. There's nothing wrong in that. I think, first of all, let me say that currently the business environment that we see across the country has been unprecedented. In our history, in our lifetime, I have never seen such a robust demand, and therefore whatever the government has been doing so far is right, and I think they need to continue doing that. A few things that I expect, or I would hope that they do, as I said, is simplify some of the tax laws, simplify the compliances that are very, very onerous in certain areas today, and amplify some of the schemes that the government is doing to generate the Viksit Bharat, which is a very, I think, ideal platform today. We are the country sitting in a very ideal place for Viksit Bharat. And they also need to generate employment, which we understand. So I think these are the simplification of labor laws, which is in the annual, it has happened to a certain extent, but needs a more robust thrust. So these are the few things that I would like the government to do, and I expect them to do.
Right. So very right. Simplification is the mandatory thing. And sir, also we know that this government is known for the fiscal prudence and fiscal management. So my next question is, what do you think about the macro indicators and macro stability of the economy? When you look at the various macros, we have fiscal deficit and we have a fiscal consolidation path which this government is meticulously following. So what is your take on the macro stability of Indian economy?
I think the Indian economy, macroeconomics is very stable. I think when you compare it with the headwinds that the world is facing, we are in a very, very robust position for more reasons than one. One is that we have enough of internal consumption. And rightly, the government has focused on Make in India, on Make in India for the world. So therefore, there is a thrust on the manufacturing segment, which was not there hitherto. There is a thrust on exports, which also is there. So I think the macroeconomic scenario as compared to the rest of the world, we are in a very, very healthy position. Perhaps we people sitting in India do not realize how much the world values us. I was abroad last week, and some of the people whom I was talking to really admired the digital thrust of the government, the way we get services available in our country at the push of a button from your phone. You know, we are a country that is consuming a lot of data and cheap data. Plus, now the government is focusing on manufacturing segment, thrust on employment. So I think macroeconomic scenario looks good. The government has been prudent in not overspending. I do not know this time around what they are going to do, because they will have to come out with a lot of schemes to, keep the segment, the not so elite population. They need to, support them in some kind of way. Plus, I think the inflation parameters, and as I said, it's headwinds of the world and not just the doing of the country. So with all these parameters, I hope that the government is able to keep its head above the water and sail through. I don't see a problem for the country. Though again, we look at it in a very short-term manner, but when you talk to people across the world, they tell us that for the next 10 years, I don't think you'll have any issues in becoming a stronger economy than much stronger than what you are today.
Right. And sir, also one thing that we know that this government is known for the record capital expenditure allocation and the boost on the infrastructure front. And we also know that this government is doing the heavy lifting as far as investments in the economy is concerned. And private capex has also remained some sort of a concern in the last few years. What, according to you, should be done to revive the private capex, and how do you assess the private investment in the economy as of now?
So I think if you look at it in a very out of the box manner, I think the government has done enough and is perhaps looking to do more, especially on the PLI, that is the production linked incentive. Right. Almost all industries which were not there in India have started manufacturing in India. So I think the capex is going to increase. What the government needs to do, and this is something that I've been advocating all along, is that, rather than giving mere grants or subsidies or monthly dole-outs, even by a DBT, I would say that the government, if they link the production incentive to the employment generated, it may help in generating more employment. The private sector, from what we see, and since we are part of the infrastructure industry and in the energy and electrical business, we are seeing a robust growth. There is enough of private demand coming up. New projects are coming up and of unheard of capacities, especially in various segments, not just the manufacturing segment, but also in the renewable energy segment, in the healthcare, in the infrastructure, as you said. So the one thing that I would like the government to do is, rather than dole out subsidies for employment generation, I would suggest that the government dramatically and drastically reduces the cost of interest.
Yeah. So, sir, next question that I want to ask you, that we know that job creation has become one of the major concerns for the Indian economy in the last few years. And also this has been the focal point of the government since last many years. So I just want to ask you what steps the finance minister can take to boost job creation in the economy.
I think one is production linked incentive to employment creation incentive also, the number of additional people that you employ. That is one part. I think the focus should be on the MSME segment also, where the MSME segment should be able to borrow money at about zero cost of interest, because that employment, rather than you giving subsidies to people on a monthly basis or quarterly basis, it is better that you employ that subsidy for the industry who can then generate employment on a long-term basis. Right. So rather than giving fish to the people, it is better to let them catch the fish. And this is what is, I think, going to generate some employment. Skill development is, of course, one of the focus areas of the government. And I think that's not happened to the extent that the government was keen to do so. There is an anomaly that we see as an industry on the employment side. Right. There is talk that there is not enough of jobs generated. But when we as an industry go out to hire people, we find that we are not getting people. Yeah. And this is a matter which almost all industries and almost all large corporates that we know of, they are facing this issue. So I think what the government needs to do is bridge this gap, because there is enough of employment demand in the country. The government, as I said earlier, needs to amplify some schemes which then bring employment back onto its track, and then people are aware of this employment.
Right, right. Sir, thank you so much for sparing out your valuable time and speaking to Republic Business and Republic TV. I really appreciate for sparing time out for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and let's hope that we get a good budget, not too much of tinkering, and let the good times continue.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. We will touch base with you after the budget is presented, and then we will probably discuss what Finance Minister has announced in the full budget. Thank you so much again for joining us and speaking to us.
And to you all.